Now, once you have your wire armature finished, so I've got my nice little pose here, and for the head, I just took a little piece right here, and then I just bent and I just kind of made this little spiral. So I kind of have this little rounded form, and I can put things around that to sort of flesh the head out, because mine is my figure. So it stands up pretty nicely. It moves a little bit, so I might put a little bit more tape on this back area here to really make sure that it's not going anywhere. And you know, I can adjust the pose a little bit if I would like. Things seem pretty tight on there. They look pretty good. I gave myself some little hands just by taking my tool and just sort of bending the wire around there in that little form. So again, the wire is just to give us our base skeleton. So now we have to sort of flesh it out and make our figure a lot thicker than it already is. And so I'm going to be using some aluminum foil. So hopefully you have some aluminum foil at home. If not, you can go to the dollar store and pick some up, relatively inexpensive. I have heavy duty right here, which is going to be a lot thicker. You don't have to get heavy duty or even a name brand if you don't have some. But this works just fine. And you don't need to bulk this thing up a huge amount, so you don't have to add a whole lot of this. All right, but I can start with like the head. You know, and the head will be pretty easy because I can just kind of wrap it right around this form right here, and I can kind of ball that up a little bit. Okay, there's a little bit of a hole there, which might be a little bit of a problem, so I could take a little bit of foil, kind of stick it in that hole. And if that's not going to stay, you know, you've got your friend the tape, because this is all going to be covered. And we're trying to get it smooth-ish as possible. So if you use tape, you don't want to have like a big like flap like that sticking up. That's not going to look good in the end. So we don't want that for sure. But trying to get it as flat and smooth as possible. Once we start using the plaster strips, it'll be a lot easier to smooth that out and go over these forms. There will still be a little bit of a lumpiness to it. Okay, but again, you know, for the tin foil here, you know, kind of bunch it up. Picking this out a little bit. And for my hands, I can take some more. Give myself a little bit more of a proper hand there. Like for the body, we'll probably need a little bit more in there for that. So I might take a larger sheet. Let's see, maybe I'll cut that, I'll tear that in half, just in case. Okay, and again, if you wad it up too much, you're going to lose sort of the width of it. And don't forget, you've got to think about the back part of your sculpture as well. Okay? Now, if you don't have aluminum foil and you're not able to get some, you can use like newspaper. You know, I mean, I don't have the paper, but I get this stuff in the mail. So instead of throwing it out, I just kind of keep it on hand because I know I can always use it as part of my supplies. And that's one of the things that's cool about sculptures. You can use lots of different types of supplies. So I'm going to show how I can sort of bulk this up with paper and tape instead. And again, you'll want a smaller piece. Like that's way too long. So I'll cut this down into a manageable piece here. Okay, now I'm going to flesh out like the hip area. So I'm going to sort of crinkle that up a little bit. And just kind of do that. And then I'll just start taping it in place. Now you've got quite a bit of tape that I sent you with, but you don't want to just wrap tape around and around and around it, because that's just sort of a waste of materials. But I'm sort of doing that a little bit here, just to sort of keep it in place and to make sure that my form is sort of what I want, kind of in the end. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more tape, like right in here. You know, and that's okay. That's not bad. That's turning okay. I might want to push that in a little bit. But again, you can get a pretty good surface covering area with just the paper and the tape instead of the aluminum foil. The aluminum foil stays pretty well. So it's a great substance to work with. But I'm just going to continue on, and I'm going to cover my entire sculpture so that I get it a bit thicker, because what's going to happen is that I'm going to do another layer using the plaster strips, and the plaster strips are really going to sort of make it a lot thicker. But we only have a certain amount of those, so we really have to be careful when we start adding the plaster strips.